Hello and welcome to day 26 of revising UPSC previous year question for UPSC 2027. In this video, I will cover GS1 of 2022. I already covered 2023, 24, 25 question papers. So let's get started. GS1 2022. How will you explain that medieval Indian temple sculptures represent the social life of those days? Medieval Indian temple architecture served as a canvas reflecting contemporary society. Far beyond religious iconography, temple sculptures functioned as stone archives, capturing the socio-cultural, economic, and daily realities of medieval India. This is the map, but you know this is just for memorization, like which place is there. If you want, you can draw. Representation of medieval social life, occupation and daily activities. Wall wall friezes depict diverse professions including farmer, artisan, musicians, dancers, and ascetics. Example Khajuraho and Konark Sun Temple reliefs. Societal hierarchies and royalty. Sculptures portray royal court proceedings, military processions, hunting expeditions, and elite pastimes reflecting feudal power structure. Example Hoysaleswara Temple, Halebidu. Attire, ornament, and aesthetics. Detailed carvings illustrate contemporary fashion, intricate hairstyle, jewelry, and textile drapes worn across different social strata. Domestic life and belief. Reliefs highlight family dynamics, child rearing, domestic chores, and folk traditions alongside Mithuna figures symbolizing householder ideals, Grahastha ashram. This is the flow diagram if you want. Medieval temple sculptures thus transcended, transcended spiritual functions, preserving a vivid, dynamic visuals record of medieval Indian social life and cultural values. Actually, guys, I am not feeling well, so if my voice is not that energetic, so please bear with me. Question 2. Why did the armies of the British East India Company, mostly comprising of Indian soldiers, win consistently against the more numerous and better equipped army and then Indian better equipped army of the then Indian rulers? Give reasons. Despite being outnumbered by regional Indian powers, the British East India Company established territorial dominance across India. Their success really relied heavily on institutional superiority, discipline, and strategic organization rather than numerical advantage. Reasons for consistent British victories: strict military discipline and training. EIC soldiers, sepoys, underwent continuous European drill and tactical training, ensuring cohesive battlefield execution compared to irregular Indian levies. Regular pay and financial stability. Regular salaries paid by the EIC ensured high soldier morale and loyalty, contrasting with chronic pay delays in regional Indian armies. Modern military strategy. European tactics emphasized coordinated infantry, artillery maneuvers, and rapid line firing techniques over traditional cavalry charges. Unified command versus internal factions. Indian kingdoms suffered from internal rivalries, fragmented command structures, and betrayed among feudatories. Example Battle of Plassey. The EIC's military victories resulted from superior institutional governance, financial stability, and tactical discipline, transforming mercenary forces into a decisive conquest machine. Why was there a sudden spurt in famines in colonial India since the mid 18th century? Give reasons. The mid 18th century marked a structural economic shift in India following the East India Company's acquisition of Diwani rights. Colonial policies transformed natural climate variation into catastrophic man-made famines. Key reasons for the spurt in famines: exorbitant land revenue policies. System like the permanent Rayotwari and Mahalwari settlements extracted fixed excessive revenues regardless of crop yields, destroying peasant resilience. Commercialization of agriculture, forced cultivation of crops, forced cultivation of cash crops, indigo, cotton, opium over food grain reduced local subsistence food reserves, deindustrialization and ruralization, destruction of traditional artisans, destruction of traditional artisan industry forced millions onto vulnerable agricultural land, increasing the rural poverty, laissez-faire policies and food exports. The colonial administration maintained food export during severe drought, prioritizing imperial profits over emergency relief. The Bengal famine, 1770. This is a this is a concept in economy. Okay, colonial famine mechanism, revenue extraction, cash crop shift, grain export, mass mortality. This is the major famine affected area belts during that time. Colonial exploitation, colonial economic exploitation, ruthless revenue collection, and neglect of public welfare converted regular weather anomalies into recurring devastating famines throughout British rule. Question 4. Describe the characteristic and types of primary rocks. Primary rocks, commonly known as igneous rocks, form the foundation of Earth's crust. They are termed primary because they form directly from the cooling and solidification of molten magma or lava, serving as the parent material for all other rock types. This is the diagram: main vent, lava flow ash, magma chamber, batholith dike sill. Although these are like more of a optional related thing, but you can, because GS is getting too detailed now, so you can draw this if you want. Characteristics of primary rocks: crystalline structures formed by crystallization of minerals during cooling. They do not contain distinct layer or strata. Absence of fossils. Extreme heat of magma destroys organic remains, rendering primary rock fossiliferous. Impermeability. Dense, tightly interlocking mineral grains make them resistant to water percolation unless fractured. Types of primary rocks. This is the classification: intrusive plutonic, extrusive volcanic, slow cooling underground, large mineral crystal, granite, diorite, rapid cooling at surface, fine grained glassy basalt and obsidian. So types of rock: intrusive plutonic rocks formed when magma cools slowly deep beneath the earth's surface, resulting in large coarse mineral grains. Example: granite, gabbro. Extrusive volcanic rocks formed when lava cools rapidly on the earth's surface, creating fine grained or glassy textures. Example: basalt, pumice. Primary rocks shape essential landforms and provide economic mineral resources, forming the structural bedrock of the lithosphere. Discuss the meaning of color coded weather warnings for cyclone prone areas given by Indian Meteorological Department. The India Meteorological Department uses a standardized color coded weathering warning system to communicate the severity of impending tropical cyclones along India's coastline, enabling timely disaster preparedness under the National Disaster Management Act 2005. Meaning of color coded weather warnings: green, normal; yellow, watch; orange, alert; red, action. Like, look, guys, you can read all of these in the newspaper, but if you go through the pre-IQs, you will come to know that they directly ask this question. And if you go through this question again and again, and if they ask something related to this in prelims, you will be able to answer this, because cyclone, this is like the evergreen topic. Every year you will have the question either in prelims or in mains related to this. So green means no warning, indicates clear weather condition with no severe cyclone threat. Normal daily activities can proceed without disruption. Yellow, be aware, signals bad or uncertain weather that may deteriorate, advises local administration and citizens to monitor updates closely. Orange, be prepared, indicates hazardous weather conditions expected to cause disruption, transport delays, and power outages. Local authorities must prepare evacuation plans. Red, take action, denotes severe extreme weather condition threatening life and property, requires immediate execution of disaster response and evacuation plans. IMD, color coded warning framework, bridges scientific meteorology and disaster management, minimizing loss of life and enhancing coastal disaster resilience. Discuss the natural resource potential of Deccan Trap. The Deccan Trap, formed by Cretaceous fissure volcanic eruption, covers nearly 5 lakh kilometers square across western and central India. Its basaltic terrain houses diverse minerals, agricultural and energy resources critical for regional economic development. Natural resource potential. Black cotton soil, rigor. Weathering of basalt yields moisture retentive black soil, rich in iron, lime, and magnesium, making it highly suitable for cotton, sugarcane, and pulse cultivation. Building and construction material. Dense basaltic rocks provide durable material for road construction, railway ballast, and civil infrastructure. Bauxite and mineral reserves. Weathered capping layers host major bauxite deposit, aluminum ore in Maharashtra and Gujarat, along with semi-precious stones. Agate and chalcedony or chalcedony. Groundwater and geothermal potential. Secondary porosity in vesicular basalt layers forms key aquifer, while thermal springs unaware presents geothermal energy potential. This is the diagram. The dotted is Deccan Trap region. This lining is regular soil, black cotton soil belt, and these diagonal lines are bauxite belts. These triangles are basaltic quarries. Major locations. Deccan Trap region is spread across parts of Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh. Unlocking the Deccan Trap's resource potential requires sustainable soil conservation, eco-friendly stone quarrying, and balanced aquifer management. Examine the potential of wind energy in India and explain the reasons for their limited spatial spread. According to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, India holds an estimated onshore wind power potential of over 302 gigawatt at 100-meter height. Wind energy remains pivotal for achieving India's 500 gigawatt non-fossil capacity target by 2030. Potential and spatial constraints. High wind potential zones, concentrated primarily along the coastal and arid belts of western and southern India, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka. Topographical limitation. Uniform wind velocities are confined to coastal stretches, mountain passes, example Palghat Gap and open table lands. Seasonal wind variability. Wind power generation is monsoon dependent, dropping significantly during winter months across continental hinterlands. Grid and land acquisition bottlenecks. High capital cost, land assembly delays in windy corridors, and weak transmission infrastructure in remote regions limit expansion. Special limitation drivers. Geographic factors, localized high wind, coastal and fast corridor. Seasonal variation, monsoon driven speed lulls in winter months. Infrastructure deficit. intermittent transmission and land acquisition delays. India, the primary wind corridor you can see. These are the winds: coastal Gujarat wind corridor, Gulf of Khambat. Actually, it is this Western Ghats passes wind corridor. Actually, you should go through these map through the atlas, but I didn't pasted those maps, maybe because of copyright or something. So that is the reason I didn't paste those maps directly from any book or atlas. But it is similar to that, and you can go through the actual map from the atlas once. It will give you the idea that which map you have to see in the atlas. Expanding spatial spread necessitates offshore wind projects, wind solar hybrid system, and upgrading evacuation grids under the Green Energy Corridor Initiative. Question 8. Explore and evaluate the impact of work from home on family relationship. The institutionalization of work from home accelerated by post-pandemic digital infrastructure has altered the traditional boundary between domestic life and professional work, significantly reshaping Indian family dynamics. Exploration and evaluation of impacts. Strengthen interpersonal bonding, increased presence enables shared caregiving, enhanced time spent with children, and active participation in elder care, fostering emotional solidarity. Erosion of work life boundaries. Blurring of professional and personal domains causes domestic role strain, constant multitasking, and heightened psychological stress. Gender burden asymmetry. As highlighted by Time Use Survey, women often bear a disproportionate burden of simultaneous domestic labor, caregiving, and professional duties. Reduced privacy and conflict. Confined spatial arrangements in urban household increase friction over space allocation, domestic noise, and shared resource usage. This is the positive dimension, work from home family impact matrix, positive dimension, enhanced caregiving and bonding, active elder care and participation, and these are the negatives. Blurred professional boundaries, unequal gender care burden. Balancing work from home dynamics requires domestic labor redistribution, organizational right to disconnect policies, and adaptive residential design prioritizing personal space. Question 9. How is the growth of tier 2 cities related to the rise of a new middle class with an emphasis on the culture of consumption? India's urban landscape is shifting beyond saturated tier 1 mega cities. The expansion of tier 2 cities, Jaipur, Lucknow, Surat, in fact Nagpur, is driven by an expanding new middle class possessing rising disposable income and aspirational consumption habits. Interlinkage, tier 2 urbanization and consumption culture. Rise of aspirational middle class. Decentralized IT services, improved connectivity, and remote work expanded white collar employment, fueling local purchasing power. Spread of modern retail and infrastructure. Rapid emergence of shopping malls, multiplexes, and food chains reflects a transition from traditional shift to lifestyle consumption. Digital commerce penetration. E-commerce platforms and UPI networks democratized access to premium brands, driving demand for fashion, consumer durables, and personal vehicles. Real estate and leisure. Real estate and leisure expansion. And demand for gated communities, private healthcare, and international school education showcases aspirational social mobility. Tier 2 consumption engine, economic decoupling, retail infrastructure, digital integration. This is the diagram. Harmonizing Tier 2 expansion with suitable urban planning under the Smart Cities mission ensures inclusive economic growth and balanced spatial development. Question 10. Given the diversities among tribal communities in India, in which specific context should they be considered as a single category? India's scheduled tribes comprises over 700 distinct communities. 8.6% of the population as per 2011 census, exhibit vast linguistic, cultural, and geographic diversity. However, shared historical and structural vulnerabilities necessitate treating them as a unified administrative category. Specific context for a single category consideration. Constitutional Protection Framework, Article 342, 5th and 6th Schedule and PESA Act 1996 mandate uniform legal safeguards for land rights, autonomy, and anti-exploitation. Socio-economic vulnerability, shared historical marginalization, land alienation, low literacy level, and high multidimensional poverty warrant unified affirmative action. Article 15.4 and 16.4. Forest rights and ecological rights. The Forest Rights Act FRA 2006 uniformly recognizes customary land rights and community forest stewardship across all tribal groups. Preservation of cultural autonomy, protection against forced assimilation, and safeguarding distinct indigenous knowledge system under Article 29. Unified constitutional and affirmative protection grid. This is the diagram. Look, just practice these kind of things again and again on paper, and so, yes, on paper. Use your pen, draw it. This will definitely gonna increase your marks, and this is like an entire answer. The diagram is an entire answer in itself. Let me reduce the size. See, this is the entire answer, right? Unified constitution and affirmative protection grid. Diverse tribal identities, language, culture, tradition, livelihood, beliefs, knowledge system. And now this is like spoke model, constitutional safeguard, PESA Act, Forest Act, reservation and political representation, cultural and linguistic protection, targeted development initiative, anti-discrimination and justice, 5th and 6th schedule. So go through this, repeat, repeat, and repeat. And this is the flow diagram if you want. Unified tribal context matrix, constitutional safeguard, affirmative action, ecological rights. While respecting localized tribal heritage, treating tribes as a single category ensures robust constitutional protection, socio-economic justice, and democratic inclusion. Question 11. The political and administrative reorganization of states and territories has been a continuous ongoing process since the mid-19th century. Discuss with example. Political and administrative reorganization in India has evolved continuously since the mid-19th century, from colonial consolidation after 1857 to post-independence democratic assertions. Territorial boundaries have been repeatedly reshaped to balance security, administrative efficiency, and ethno-linguistic aspiration under constitutional mechanism, Article 3 and 4. Now, phase-wise evolution of territorial reorganization. Colonial era, mid-19th century to 1947. Imperial consolidation, post-1857. The British administrative setup created vast presidencies, Bengal, Bombay, Madras for revenue extraction and central control. Divide and rule and strategic reorganization. The 1905 partition of Bengal reflected strategic division along communal lines, later revoked in 1911, while creating Bihar and Odisha. The Government of India Act 1935 separated Sindh from Bombay and created Odisha as a distinct province on a linguistic basis. Post-independence consolidation, 47 to 56. Princely integration. Sardar Patel integrated over 560 princely states into Part A, B, C, and D states. Linguistic reorganization. The martyrdom of Potti Sriramulu led to Andhra State 1953, triggering the State Reorganization Commission, Fazal Ali Commission, and the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act 1956, replacing fourfold classifications with 14 states and 6 UTs. Sub-regional and developmental reorganization, 60s to present. Bifurcation of bilingual states. Bombay state bifurcated into Gujarat and Maharashtra. 1960. Punjab reorganized into Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal Pradesh. 1966. Tribal and frontier security. Northeast. Nagaland 63, followed by Meghalaya, Manipur, and Tripura in 72. Recognized distinct indigenous identities. Developmental assertion. Creation of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Uttarakhand in 2000, followed by Telangana 2014. Addressed regional economic imbalances. Strategic integration, reorganization of J&K into two union territories 2019, and merging Dadra and Nagar Haveli with Daman and Diu 2020. Evolutionary reorganization timeline. This colonial realignment, linguistic realignment, and development and security. Territorial reorganization remains a dynamic safety valve of Indian federalism, strengthening national unity while fulfilling democratic aspirations. Question 12. Discuss the main contribution of Gupta period and Chola period to Indian heritage and culture. The Gupta 4th to 6th century and Imperial Chola 9th to 13th century after AD, you can say, or CE, eras marked monumental peaks in Indian classical culture. While the Guptas established North India's golden age in literature and art, the Cholas pioneered South Indian maritime, temple, and bronze heritage. Key contribution of the Gupta period. Classical architecture and sculpture. Pioneer of structural Hindu temples using the Nagara style. The Dashavatara temple, Devgarh, the Sarnath seated Buddha exemplified classical poise and spiritual aesthetic. Literally Renaissance. Literally Renaissance. Golden age of Sanskrit literature led by Kalidas, Abhijan Shakuntalam, Harisena, Allahabad Prashasti, and Vishakadatta. Sorry, literally Renaissance. Golden age of Sanskrit literature led by Kalidas, Abhijan Shakuntalam, Harisena, Allahabad Prashasti, and Vishakadatta. Scientific and mathematical breakthrough. Aryabhat, concept of zero, heliocentric observations, and Varahamira, Brihad Samhita revolutionized astronomy and mathematics. Metallurgical excellence demonstrated by the rust-resistant Mehroli iron pillar and cast bronze statues. India major medieval centers: Gupta Center, North India, and Chola Coromandel Coast. Actually, this is in UP, not in MP. So you can see the map and go through it. This is in UP Devgarh. Key contribution of the Chola period. Dravida temple architecture. Construction of magnificent granite temples like Brihadeshwara temple at Thanjavur, UNESCO site featuring towering vimanas and vast gopurams. Bronze casting mastery. Lost wax method producing masterpieces like the Nataraj Cosmic Dancer, capturing fluid motion and anatomical balance. Maritime expansion and cultural diffusion. Trade and naval expeditions spread Indian art, Shaivism, and Sanskrit Tamil tradition to Southeast Asia. Sri Vijaya Kingdom. Local governance and epigraphy. Utira Merur inscription. Detailed autonomous decentralized village governance through democratic assemblies, sabhas. Cultural contribution matrix: Gupta era, classical golden age, Chola era, maritime, and Dravida mastery. Gupta and Chola contributions form the twin pillar of India's aesthetic, literary, and architectural heritage, leaving a lasting legacy across Asia. Question 13. Discuss the significance of the lion and bull figures in the Indian mythology, art, and architecture. Animals hold profound symbolic and iconographic significance in Indian heritage. The lion and bull figures transcends mere decorative motifs, serving as enduring emblems of political sovereignty, spiritual energy, and moral order, dharma across Vedic, Buddhist, Jain, and Hindu traditions. Significance in mythology, art, and architecture. The lion figure, royal sovereignty and power, symbolizes temporal power, authority, and courage adopted by Ashoka on the Sarnath pillar, now India's national emblem, to proclaim the universal reign of Dharma. Spiritual protection and Buddhist art, associated with Lord Buddha, known as Shakya Simha, Shakya Simha, the lion of the Shakya clan. Lion roaring signifies the fearless propagation of Dharma, Dhamma, Dhamma Ghosh. Hindu iconography manifested as Narsimha, half man, half lion avatar of Vishnu, symbolizing protection against evil, serves as the Vahan, mount of goddess Durga. Simhavahini. Architectural elements. Adorned temple pillars, gateways, Simhadwar, and throne pedestals, Simhasan, across Mahabalipuram and Khajuraho temple. The bull figure, agrarian vitality and fertility, represents cosmic fertility, strength, and agricultural abundance dating back to the Indus Valley civilization. Pashupati seal, Zebu bull figurines. Nandi in Shaivism. Nandi the bull serves as the sacred mount and foremost devotee of Lord Shiva, symbolizing righteous strength, patience, and steadfast devotion. Dharmic order in Buddhism. Featured on the abacus, featured on the abacus of the Sarnath capital, representing hard work, steadfastness, and the birth sign of Prince Siddhartha, Taurus. Architectural prominence. Massive monolithic Nandi sculptures guard temple entrances. Mukha Mandapa across South India. Example, Brihadeshwara temple at Thanjavur. Chamundi Hill in Mysore. Iconographic significance matrix, lion motif, sovereignty, Dhammagosh, Durga Vahana, and Simhadwar. Bull motifs, fertility, cosmic energy, Nandi devotion, and Pashupati seals. The lion and bull motifs synthesize royal power with spiritual devotion, remaining central to India's artistic heritage and national identity. Question 14. What are the forces that influence ocean currents? Describe their role in fishing industry of the world. Ocean currents are continuous directed movements of ocean water driven by physical and atmospheric forces operating as planetary conveyor belts. Ocean currents regulate global climatic system and dictate the spatial distribution of marine ecosystem and global fishing grounds. Forces influencing ocean current. Primary forces: initiated water movements, planetary winds, prevailing winds, trade winds, westerlies exert frictional drag on surface waters, driving major oceanic gyres. Solar heating causes thermal expansion and density differentials. Warmer water near the equator expands and flows towards cooler polar regions. Coriolis force deflects currents to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere due to Earth's rotation. This is Labrador current and this is Humboldt's. You can go through again the map in the atlas. Because of copyright, I didn't upload the direct map. And which gyre it is? This is Sargosa Sea, but it is a gyre. A gyre is something where the water is stagnant, right? It balances. The current is going there, and from here it goes like this. So secondary forces modify current direction and velocity. Intensity variation, thermohaline circulation, differences in temperature and salinity drives deep water ocean currents. Coastal topography and bottom relief. Continental margins deflect current pathways, example Atlantic current redirected along North America. Oceanic current drivers, primary forces, planetary winds, solar insolation and Coriolis force. Secondary is thermohaline density, continental topography. Role in the global fishing industry. Mix of warm and cold current. The convergence of warm and cold current creates ideal conditions for plankton growth, generating major global fishing grounds. Examples: meeting of Kuroshio warm and Oyashio cold currents near Japan, Gulf Stream warm and Labrador current cold over the Grand Banks, Newfoundland. Upwelling zones. Wind driven displacement of surface water causes nutrient rich cold bottom waters to rise, supporting dense fish population. Example: Peruvian coast, Humboldt current supports world's largest anchovy fisheries. Benegula current of Southwest Africa. Southwest Africa, yes. Navigational and economic efficiency. Fishermen utilize current drift to reduce fuel consumption and optimize trawling routes. Understanding ocean currents is critical for sustainable marine resource management, regulating fisheries and climate resilient coastal planning. Question 15. Describe the distribution of rubber producing countries. Indicate the major environmental issues faced by them. Natural rubber, Heva brasiliensis, Hevia brasiliensis, Hevia brasiliensis is a vital tropical industrial commodity requiring high temperatures, 25 degrees centigrade, heavy rainfall around 200 centimeter, and well-drained acidic soil. The spatial distribution of rubber production is concentrated in tropical belts, primarily across Southeast Asia, West Africa, and Latin America. Global distribution of rubber producing countries. Southeast Asia, dominant hub, around 85% of global supply. Thailand and Indonesia, top global producer dominated by smallholders plantation. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Myanmar, major exporter expanding into non-traditional upland areas. India, ranked among top producers, concentrated in Kerala, Tripura, and Assam. West and Central Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Cameroon lead African production supported by favorable equatorial climate. Latin America, Brazil, native Amazonian habitat, and Guatemala maintain localized rubber production. Global rubber distribution. This is Southeast Asia, around 85%, India, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, India. West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Cameroon, Latin America, Brazil, Amazon, and Guatemala, Amazon basin. This is the diagram. This is the perfect diagram, right? And you can draw this. Although the map is not proper, the India map, but you need not to map. Okay, in this diagram, you have to draw India because India is there. But otherwise, the world map, you can eliminate this part and like this only. Major environmental issues faced by rubber producing belt. Deforestation and biodiversity loss. Conversion of primary tropical rainforest into monoculture rubber plantation destroy habitats for endangered species, example orangutans in Sumatra. Soil degradation and erosion. Clearing natural forest cover accelerates topsoil erosion, nutrients leaching, and land degradation on sloped plantation terrains. Water stress and hydrological disruption. Monoculture rubber trees consume excessive groundwater, altering local hydrological regimes during dry season. Agrochemical pollution and effluent discharge. Intensive fertilizer application causes water eutrophication, while rubber processing units discharge untreated acidic effluents into local rivers. Loss of carbon sinks. Replacing pristine tropical forest with rubber monocultures reduces long-term carbon sequestration capacity. Promoting sustainable rubber cultivation requires adopting agroforestry practices, enforcing zero deforestation certification standards like FSC, and promoting circular recycling in rubber processing industries. Question 16. Mention the significance of straits and isthmus in international trade. Straits, narrow water channels connecting two larger water bodies, and isthmuses, narrow strip of land connecting two larger landmasses, acts as a global geographic choke points and transit bridges. Over 80% of global merchandise trade by volume travels by sea, making these narrow geographical corridors vital anchors of international trade and energy security and marine logistics. Significance in international trade. Strait, maritime highway and energy corridors, distance and cost reduction. Straits drastically shorten ocean voyages, reducing shipping transit times and fuel consumption. Strait of Malacca connects the Indian Ocean to the South China Sea, facilitating 25% of global maritime trade and Asian energy shipments. Global energy choke points. Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil transit choke points, handling 20% of global petroleum consumption. Strait of Bab el Mandeb bridges the Horn of Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, serving as the gateway to the Red Sea and Suez Canal. Geopolitical and strategic leverage. Control over straits grants nations immense diplomatic leverage and dictates trade flow dynamics. Isthmus, land bridges and canal hubs, gateway of artificial waterways, narrow land masses enable canal construction, revolutionizing global trade routes. Isthmus of Panama, home to the Panama Canal connecting to the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, avoiding the long Cape Horn transit around South America. Isthmus of Suez enables direct maritime connectivity between Europe and Asia via the Red Sea, bypassing Africa's Cape of Good Hope. Multimodal logistic bridges, land isthmuses enable dry ports, transshipment hubs, and interoceanic rail corridor, and cross-border energy pipelines. These are the key choke points. Isthmus of Suez, Strait of Hormuz. This is in news, right? Isthmus of Panama, Bab el Mandeb, and all, Malacca. Straits, maritime waterways, shorten maritime transit route, critical energy choke points. Isthmus, land bridge, host canals, interoceanic rail and logistics. Strait and isthmuses form the backbone of global commerce, ensuring open maritime access under UN clause paired with infrastructure modernization is crucial for resilient global supply chain. Troposphere is a very significant atmospheric layer that determines weather processes. How? The troposphere is the lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere, extending from 8 km at the poles to 18 km at the equator, containing nearly 75% of total atmospheric mass and almost all water vapors and aerosols. It serves as the primary engine for global weather processes and climate dynamics. This is the diagram. You can go through it. I will short it so that you can go through it at once. This is the diagram. Okay, how the troposphere determines weather processes. Water vapor concentration. Virtually all atmospheric water vapor is confined to the troposphere. Evaporation, condensation, and precipitation cycles, rain, snow, dew, fog occurs exclusively within this air. Convective turbulence and lapse rate. The troposphere exhibits a standard lapse rate. Temperature drops at 6.5 degrees centigrade per kilometer altitude. Solar heating of Earth's surface drives vertical thermal convection, creating instability, cloud formation, and atmospheric circulation. Jet stream and pressure system. High altitude geostrophic wind belts. Jet stream flow near the tropopause, steering cyclone trajectories, monsoon and temperate weather fronts. Air mass mixing and atmospheric fronts. Density differential creates horizontal air movements, driving high and low pressure systems, trade winds and tropical cyclones, aerosols and cloud condensation nuclei, CCN. Dust, sea salt, and pollutants suspended in the troposphere acts as a CCN, directly regulating cloud formation, lightning, and albedo feedback loops. Tropospheric weather engine. This is the diagram: water vapor and CNN, thermal convective loop, surface insolation, vertical air mixing, jet stream, frontal and cyclones, steers, frontal cyclones, and monsoon dynamics, condensation clouds, precipitation cyclones. The troposphere acts as Earth's dynamic weather laboratory, directly governing hydrological cycle, monsoon system, and agricultural productivity. Question 18. Analyze the salience of sect in Indian society vis-a-vis caste, region, and religion. Indian society is structured across multiple overlapping identity vectors, while religion, caste, and region serves as micro-level socio-political categories. Sects, panth, sampradaya or panth represent micro-level internal reformations, spiritual affiliation, or doctrinal divisions that cut across or modify these primary structures. Salience of sects vis-a-vis other identifiers. Sect versus religion. Internal pluralism and reformation. Sub-traditions within major faiths. Sects represent theological diversities within unified religions. Example: Shaivism, Vaishnavism in Hinduism, Shia Sunni Sufi orders in Islam, Digambar, Shwetambar in Jainism, Hinayan, Mahayan in Buddhism. Social reform movements. Historically, sects emerged as egalitarian movements challenging orthodoxy. Example: Bhakti movement, Lingyatism, Kabir Panth, Khalsa Panth. Sect versus caste. Duality of reform and realignment. Challenging caste orthodoxy, many sects initially rejected caste hierarchies, promoting radical egalitarianism through shared worship, sangat, and communal dining, langar. Caste realignment. Over time, several sects developed their own endogamous structures or become associated with a specific caste group. Example: Lingayat in Karnataka, demonstrating caste resilience. Cross-cutting identity dynamics. You can go through this diagram. What is sect? Sect is a mix of religion, caste, and region, right? Distinctive beliefs, practice, leadership, and community boundaries. It's a good diagram. Okay, wait. Let me show it all at once. This is the good diagram. Sect versus region. Trans-regional mobilization. Transcending regional boundaries. Religious sects create national and global network through pilgrimage circuit, mathas, ashram, deras. Localized political mobilization. Sect often exert influence over regional politics. Example: Dera politics in Punjab, Haryana, Satras in Assam. Interlocking social identity grid, social, sect and religion, sect and caste, sect and region. Sect demonstrate the dynamic adaptive nature of Indian society, acting as vehicles for spiritual expression. social reform, and political assertion within broader social framework. Are tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism the key elements in the making of an Indian form of secularism? And justify the answer. Unlike the Western model of secularism, which mandates a strict wall of separation between church and state, the Indian model of secularism is rooted in principled distance, Sarva Dharma Sambhava. It synthesizes tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism to govern an exceptionally diverse society. Justification of key elements in Indian secularism. Pluralism, recognition, and equal protection. Constitutional architecture, Article 25 to 28 guarantee equal freedom of conscience, while Articles 29-30 protect educational and cultural rights of religious and linguistic minorities. Coexistence of personal laws. Pluralism accommodates distinct personal laws while preserving state rights to enact social reforms. Article 25 2b. Tolerance, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence. Historical tradition rooted in ancient ethos, Ekam Sat Vipra, Bahuda Vadanti. This is what it means is the truth is one, but people are explaining it in different ways. And royal edicts, example, Ashokan rock edicts advocating respect for all sects. Principled distance, state maintains equal respect for all religion rather than strict anti-religious hostility, intervening only to correct internal social evils. Example, abolition of untouchability under Article 17 outlawing triple talaq. Assimilation synthesis without forced uniformity. Cultural composite identity, Ganga Jamuni Tahzeeb. Indian secularism accommodates continuous cultural synthesis across art, music, cuisine, and language without imposing forced cultural homogeneity. Democratic inclusion blends minority protection into national institutions, fostering a shared national identity alongside diverse cultural expressions. This is a fancy diagram, but again, you need not to draw this. Just go through it and draw a schematic diagram of this. So, Indian secularism, pluralism, tolerance, and assimilation. Tolerance, assimilation, and pluralism form the living core of Indian secularism, ensuring democratic stability, constitutional morality, and social harmony amidst deep diversity. Elucidate the relationship between globalization and new technology in a world of scarce resources with special reference to India. Globalization and emerging technologies, AI, IoT, precision biotech, renewable tech are interconnected forces reshaping resource allocation. In an era marked by resource scarcity, water stress, arable land depletion, and energy transition, India serves as a key testing ground for leveraging technology-driven globalization towards sustainable development. Interlinkage globalization, technology, and resource scarcity. This is the diagram, global tech transfer and resource efficiency. Precision agriculture, digital globalization facilitates access to satellite imaging, IoT sensor, and micro irrigation system, optimizing water and fertilizer use across agrarian belts. Circular economy and e-waste management. Global recycling technologies enable urban mining and extraction of critical minerals, lithium, rare earth from electronic waste. Sustainable and energy transition, renewable infrastructure. India's solar expansion relies on global supply chains, international climate finance, and technology transfer, International Solar Alliance. Green hydrogen and battery storage. Global R&D collaboration drive green hydrogen manufacturing, reducing long-term fossil fuel dependency. Challenges. Digital divide, unequal access to emerging technologies risk worsening resource distribution gaps across social strata. Geopolitical resource nationalism, supply chain disruption in critical mineral and high-tech components highlight vulnerabilities in globalized tech ecosystem. Balancing globalization and technology in a resource-scarce world requires building frugal technology, jugaad innovation, and safeguarding data and resource sovereignty and achieving sustainable development targets (SDG).